What is up, guys? Rick Hackus here with some awesome information on the next Borderlands game. Why Borderlands 3 is coming sooner than most people think. Now, I'm reporting on this because I am a huge Borderlands fan. Really, the reason I got into loot-based games that I'm using on my channel right now, like The Division, like Destiny, is because I really got into that genre with the original Borderlands and then Borderlands 2. So I am extremely excited for the next Borderlands game. Now, very recently was PAX East, and Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, was there and making several statements to reporters who are asking about the next Borderlands game. Now, this information kind of actually got misinterpreted by a lot of different news sources, and this led to the projected date of the upcoming Borderlands 3 being a lot later than it actually is. So this video is really going to clear all that up and really kind of give you a detailed report on the actual timing for the next Borderlands game. Now let's start off with the basics here. Speaking at a panel for the 2016 PAX East, what happened only a few days ago, Randy Pitchford was quoted by Eurogamer as saying that there's no secret that there's, quote, going to be another Borderlands. We all kind of knew this, but again, it's very nice to hear the CEO of Gearbox saying, yes, there is going to be another Borderlands game. This is just the confirmation that some people are looking for. He then continues and is quoted as saying, "We don't even know if we're going to call it Borderlands 3. We could call it Borderlands 4 for all we know." Now, I've seen this quote kind of misinterpreted by a couple of different sources, but really all he's saying here is that, look, don't worry about the name, because technically there has been 3 Borderlands games, and I'm sure the marketing department is going to do some research and survey some people and really decide whether to call it Borderlands 3 or Borderlands 4. Probably going to end up going with Borderlands 3. That's what most of the fans recognize is coming next. But again, that's really all he's saying. He's saying, look, we don't even know what we're going to call it, but all we know is that we are making a Borderlands game. The proper Gearbox is making another proper Borderlands game. Randy Pitchford then went on to talk about how there's Borderlands Easter eggs in Battleborn, and there'll be even more so in the DLC. This was kind of misinterpreted somehow, and the timeline of the upcoming Borderlands 3 definitely got distorted. You can see here by a VG247 article that they're saying that Borderlands 3 development to start after Battleborn and its DLC wrap up. And I've seen, this is just one example, I've seen a ton of different news sources report this. This is not true, and this has kind of gotten a lot of Borderlands fans a little bit nervous. In the one hand, it's good to see the CEO saying, yes, there's going to be a Borderlands game, and to get some sort of timeline, but if that's to be believed, obviously because Battleborn isn't even out yet, we're going to have to wait until Battleborn comes out, and then we're going to have probably a year's worth of DLC, and then once all of that is done, then they're going to start probably a 2-year development cycle on Borderlands, so you can expect the next Borderlands in about 3 years. Well, that's absolutely not the case. Borderlands is coming a lot sooner than that. Now, the reason for this is really explained by this tweet right here, and this kind of clarifies Randy's point. It's saying that already Borderlands Easter eggs are in Battleborn. We can't help ourselves, but if you want, we'll go nuts with Borderlands 3 Secreta in the Battleborn DLC. Now, with this tweet, you can already tell that the reported timeline just doesn't make sense. If they're starting production after the DLC wraps up, how are they going to be introducing all of these Borderlands 3 Easter eggs into the DLC? They just aren't. You know, a lot of the stuff, especially at the very earliest planning stages of the game, is going to get cut, so it's just unrealistic to be introducing all of these Easter eggs. The game would have to be a lot further in its development cycle to be introducing actual Easter eggs that make sense in the Battleborn DLC. And don't worry, guys, I'm not just extrapolating too much from this one tweet. We then have this tweet from Randy Pitchford saying, hey, video game, quote, journalists, how about not making things up? If you cannot report facts, ask for help. He is again addressing the fact that this timeline, this purported timeline saying that Borderlands 3 development is going to start when the DLC wraps up is just untrue. In fact, this other tweet kind of again confirms it, saying, we did not say anything about development cycles or timelines of any of our future games. Thanks in advance for correcting your stories. Now again, this is because Borderlands 3 is in development right now. There is a team working on the next Borderlands game. The majority of Gearbox, I'm sure, is working on finishing up Battleborn, but there's been a small contingency working on and developing Borderlands 3 at the same time. Especially just laying the groundwork, doing things like devising a new loot system, working on the concept art, the characters, the storyline, so that when the majority of the studio Gearbox is done with Battleborn and they can kind of take a load off of that, they can then transition onto Borderlands and start actually building the game from the basis of what the smaller contingency team has been working on. Now that fact that Borderlands is currently in production is confirmed by this tweet again by Randy Pitchford, saying a new Borderlands game in pre-production was confirmed last year at PAX South. We are recruiting. He is literally saying exactly what I said, that there is a team, they confirmed this last year, that there is a team already working on the next Borderlands game. Again, doing pre-production stuff, laying the groundwork for the bigger team that's going to go in and start actually building the game once Battleborn is finished. So that is great news for Borderlands fans. I know that me personally, I am super relieved that I'm not going to have to wait 3 years for the next Borderlands game, and I'm really glad that Randy Pitchford stepped in and said, listen, we're not going to start the production of the next Borderlands game once the DLC for Battleborn wraps up. We are already doing the next Borderlands game. And again, these tweets, he's saying exactly that. We are currently working on, in some capacity, the next Borderlands game, and as soon as Battleborn is finished and has shipped, we can kind of shift the studio's focus entirely towards the next Borderlands game. Except for the people obviously going to be working on, and I guess putting Easter eggs for the next Borderlands game into the Battleborn DLC. And in fact, Randy Pitchford also confirmed that Scott Kessler, the art director for Battleborn, is moving on to Borderlands as his next project. So some of the art style that we're seeing in Battleborn right now may be somewhat indicative to what's coming in the next Borderlands game. So that's pretty much going to be it for today's video. I really just wanted to go in and clarify exactly what is happening with the development of the next Borderlands game, because again, it's been reported falsely absolutely everywhere. And I know as a Borderlands fan, I would want to know a more realistic timeline for when all of this stuff is actually happening and getting that misinformation cleared up. So again, you can expect Borderlands a lot sooner than if the production was starting after the Battleborn DLC was really wrapping up. Again, they're already working on Borderlands right now, right this second. When the majority of the studio shifts its focus onto this next game, we can expect the next Borderlands game in about a year or two from when the Battleborn game launches. And again, the fact that they're sneaking in relevant Borderlands 3 Easter eggs into the Battleborn DLC means that they're kind of far along with the production, enough so that we'll be able to recognize storyline and character elements in Easter eggs when the actual game comes out. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating or sharing this video. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, keep up to date with the latest channel activity, and see absolutely hilarious tweets, the best way is to follow me at RickKakis on Twitter. That's going to be linked down in the description below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.